The 9 Years Podcast.
All right, everybody, welcome to episode 58 of the 9 Years Podcast. We have finally made it to the start of this show, this week coming to you a little bit later. Obviously, trying to squeeze in a little chat about the Coventry game, so we're arriving on a little bit later than usual. But, hey, maybe a little bit late, but sounding great as always. Thank you very much for joining us, whether it be on YouTube, iTunes, or 9yrspodcast.org. Thank you very much to all of you that have been giving us your 5-star ratings and reviews on iTunes as well. Very, very much appreciated by myself, Nick Draper, and my co-host, Steward Deacon. Stu, how are you this week?
Yeah, really well, Nick. Thank you very much for asking.
That was a very long answer. I thought we were in this habit of one word.
Yeah, but I'm running out of one words at the moment, so I just thought I'd just put a bit of a sentence in.
You've run out of one words.
Yeah,
that's the greatest sentence in the history of the English language.
Yeah, and that's something I've mastered over the years.
It is. What have you been up to this week, Stu?
I've been waiting patiently for FIFA 17 to come out, to be fair. It's felt like the running to Christmas. So, yeah, nothing too much, to be honest with you. I wasn't fortunate enough to go to Coventry. But, yeah, FIFA's out, so everything's good in the world.
Now, Stu, do you have your 9YRS podcast or 9 Years Podcast bingo card to hand?
Of course, I always carry it around with me. Fantastic.
So you should have seen this. I say you should have seen this. You might have seen this on our Twitter and our Facebook. So if you haven't yet, check them out now at 9YRS Podcast. And as you're listening to today's show, you can use your bingo card just to tick off some of the phrases that Stu and I might use. Should be good fun, to be fair. What do you reckon, Stu?
I think it's a great shout, isn't it?
I think it is a great shout. Top 7 lists. As always, our top 7 lists. What do you have? Let's have it.
Yeah, so I thought I'd try and do stuff that's topical. So I thought, obviously, with the news about the Bake Off moving from BBC One to Channel 4, I thought I would do my top 7 cakes, as you would. So, in no particular order, Nick, we're glad to know, I've got red velvet. Gone.
Sorry, is one of them baby cakes? I mean, you just don't know.
No, none of them cakes. It's a family show. So, no, my first is, and again, in no particular order, red velvet cupcakes, a Victoria sponge, coconut cake, banana cake, a lemon drizzle cake, a fruit cake, and who can forget an angel cake.
Great list.
Thank you.
I love a lemon drizzle.
Exactly.
Do you want mine this week?
Go on then, what is it?
Not my drizzle, my top 7 list.
Go on, what have you got this week?
I have gone for my top 7 songs with newspapers in the title.
Okay, that sounds interesting.
It is. So, let's start with Man in the Mirror by Michael Jackson, Walking on the Sun by Smash Mouth, National Express by The Divine Comedy, Independent Women by Destiny's Child, Hindu Times from Oasis, Today by the Smashing Pumpkins, and finally The Female of the Species by Space.
I'm impressed, mate. That's quite impressive. Sad, but quite impressive.
I think that might be the new tagline of the podcast. Sad, but quite impressive.
John Green here. Thanks for listening to today's show, and don't forget to be awesome.
Okay, alongside all the regular features of the podcast this week, well, let's run through those very quickly. We'll be looking back at the Shrewsbury and Coventry games from the previous week. We'll be looking ahead to the games coming up this week, including the Gillingham League fixture, and maybe we'll mention the Plymouth EFL Checker Trade Trophy tie as well. Could be interesting. We've got stadium news, Polio on Go, Loan Watch, Ladies Watch, Academy Update, all the usual. Plus this week we are joined by a very special guest. Introducing Luke Mackenzie. How are you getting on, Luke?
Hello, I'm good, thank you.
Now, we've asked Luke onto the show this week to have a chat with him about his time working as a volunteer and a Don's Trust board member over the... how many years has it been now? 14, nearly 15 years since the formation of AFC Wimbledon. We might talk some memories of Wimbledon FC as well. Luke, you were just listening in there. Do you happen to have a top 7 list at all?
Do you know what I do?
You do?
So I do.
Wow, you are prepared. Oh, wow. This is a momentous moment.
Something close to my heart. So I've gone with top 7 sausages.
Nice.
So I'm starting off with Irish, Cumberland, Lincolnshire.
Nice.
It's getting exciting now. We're going to Bender in a Bun from Wimpy.
I love a bender in a bun.
Absolutely. Pork and Leek.
Mm-hmm.
Who doesn't like a cocktail sausage? And number one has to be chorizo.
Chorizo. Bender in a bun. Wimpy. Are there still Wimpies around nowadays?
There are still Wimpys around.
Yeah, there are. You can spot them in. There's one in Guildford, for instance.
A bender in a bun. I love it. Love it. Good list, Lukey.
Thank you very much, Lukey. I'm actually honoured that you've done that for us. Thank you very much. The big news this week, guys, is the stadium situation. Now, I'm not going to lie. I have had a very, very busy week. I know I talk about that a lot as a teacher, and I know we moan. And we've only been back 3 weeks, but you know what? Can't wait for July. Anyway, so stadium news I've only been hearing bits and pieces of, but my understanding is that the Secretary of State, I believe, has said that they won't be calling in the application. So does that mean we're just now pretty much waiting to be given the final yes? And there's nothing going to stop us from getting there now?
Yeah, I believe so. I'm like you, to be fair, Nick. I've been busy this week, but that's not because I've been busy at work. It's just because I've been busy waiting. Waiting for Thursday and Friday, of course. But generally, so the Secretary of State threw it out. Said there's no need to see it, which we all thought was going to happen, really. It looks like, we spoke a little while ago, and we've been trying now not to get too excited because we've had these situations where we've had it called in and then there's another hurdle to jump over. But it looks like now that the only realistic other hurdle we can have if it gets into a judicial review. However, the judicial review it won't question the decision or review the decision, it will review the process. And let's be fair, we've jumped through every hoop going, so the process is probably watertight.
Just before we go on, can you just say judicial review for me one more time?
Judicial, I just had to pronounce it. It's a tricky word.
It is a tricky word, to be fair. Lukey, what do you think then? Is this fine? Is this it now? How far are we away from actually getting the final yes?
You'd like to think so, wouldn't you? I suppose the next step is serving notice on the sort of people there, so the stock car guys and the dog racing. And then I suspect we won't be short of too many volunteers to go and start knocking the place down.
No, I can imagine hundreds of, if not thousands, of Wimbledon fans descending on the Greyhound Stadium, and we'd probably actually bring it down with our bare hands.
Don't we just put grenades on it and just don't we just put bombs on it underneath it and just let it go down in one go?
I suspect there's probably quite a lot of asbestos there, to be honest.
Do you remember the old flats where you literally just put all the sort of put stuff in and it just all disintegrated? That'd be a lot easier to do, wouldn't it?
Yeah, well, you can be in charge of doing that, Stu, and then you can deal with all the legal problems afterwards.
But yeah, it's interesting what Luke is saying there, because we're not too sure whether Eric's alluded to the fact that we should be able to start in December, which suggests that I think they have a rolling 6 months or a contract. So I think we just need to identify really what the case is, and hopefully we can sort of start by the end of the year. But they think it's going to take about 6 months, I believe, to sort of clear it all.
It doesn't sound too bad, to be fair, because it's actually quite a big plot of land, and there's a lot on there, and it will take a little bit of movement, won't it, to get everything where it needs to be. When you actually get a concrete sort of schedule, you're kind of happy. You can live with that 6 months, can't you? Because you know it's actually happening. At that point, 6 months is nothing.
No, and we've waited so long for the news. I think, like I say, Eric's statement was quite strong in the week. Eric doesn't get excited too much. He's Northern, and he said before he never gets too excited about things. And he was pretty excited, wasn't he, in space, saying that we're very confident now we can proceed with going home. And it looks like now it's just technically filling all the, getting all the money sorted out, and do we have to pay any money, etc. And it's exciting times, and hopefully that will now show itself on the pitch as well, with the players playing with a bit of confidence and trying to keep a place ready to play in the new stadium.
I love how you're attempting to continue our great lineage of wonderful segues so far this season by linking to events on the field. So this week, 2 draws against 2 teams below us in the table, Shrewsbury and Coventry. We're fresh off the Coventry game, and we were tweeted following the game by Neil Taylor at Tailnat with a photo of Coventry's equalising goal. It does appear that is it Dan Adji?
Yes.
Standing in an offside position.
Yeah, I've watched the extended highlights today, to be fair, and how they got 10 minutes of that game, I don't know, because there was a lot. There was a lot of long balls and not really much happening, really. The goal was a nightmare from a defensive point of view, because we had two opportunities to clear it, and then from a lines person, or what do they call them now? What do they call them now?
You started to call them, gentleman lines people.
Yeah.
Which is called assistant referees, Stu.
That's it, assistant referees, the people that run up and down the line all day. Missed two offsides. And even though you could argue that we should have cleared the first half with Darius, he gets hardly anything on it. And then Paul Robinson tries to clear with his right foot, which it probably is easier to go with his left, or just clear the ball and just get rid of it. In the middle of that, James Shea makes an excellent save, but then, like I say, it's hit him from 6 yards. But from all accounts, we didn't play well. It just would have been nice to actually won a game playing rubbish, because that's what you need to do sometimes.
Well, to be fair, I think a wet Charlton, I wouldn't say we played rubbish, but we were on the back foot for long spells of that game. It sounds like, again, we were on the back foot for long spells against Coventry. So despite, as you say, the offside equaliser, we've come away with a point that we can probably should consider it actually a point gained in a strange kind of way, especially as Coventry, coming into the game, hadn't won this season. You know what that normally means?
Yeah, it normally means we lose, doesn't it?
Exactly.
But then it is like Coventry are there for a reason. They probably have little confidence. Their manager has resigned today, so Coventry are on a search for a new manager, along with probably quite a few other clubs at the moment, with the palaver going on with Sam Allardyce England. Do you know what I mean? So I think there's going to be a few managers looking for a job, and some that are not going to be employable again, are they? Really?
It doesn't sound like it. Does not sound like it whatsoever. This followed, we'll talk more about the Coventry game in a moment. This followed the Shrewsbury result on Saturday. Now, Lukey, that really did feel like 2 points dropped and a really wasted opportunity against what I thought was a limited side.
Yeah, especially after the first half. I think there's a lot of people saying at half time, we don't rue the sort of missed chances, and then obviously sucker punch 1 minute after half time sort of totally changed the game, didn't it?
It's strange that the goals we've conceded are, as you say, immediately after half time, in the very early minutes at Coventry, and then at the very end of the game. Why do you think, Stu, so many goals are conceded at those times of the game?
Well, normally it's because you've either made a change at half time. It's sometimes how you start, isn't it? Neil Ardie said in the press afterwards that he knew that they were going to come out that way. They knew their manager wasn't going to stand for how they played in the first half, and they come out. And we normally start well in the first half. The second half, sorry. We normally do start well. You could argue with the goal, we didn't come out and really get on top of the ball as much as we could. But the deflection from a shot that far, you'd expect a goalkeeper to be able to save it, but the deflection just does us. So frustrating. And then really Shrewsbury had something to hold on to, didn't they? And we had number of chances. And it's points drops. It's points drops. But I was actually looking at the recent form. Obviously now we can get a form guide going now, because obviously we're into 10 games played. And in the form table, which is obviously after 6 games, do you want to hazard a guess where we're sitting?
I'm sitting in my flat.
where we're sitting in the... ask a silly question. Where do you think we're sitting in the form table on the last 6?
Lukey, you have a guess first.
Yeah, I'm going to plump for about 12th.
Okay. I'll say a bit higher. I'm going to go for 7th.
Yeah, on the money. 7th we are.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, on the money. So if you look at the form table at the moment, surprisingly, Bury are top of the form guide. They've won their last 5 games, which is some going, to be fair. But yeah, we're sitting in 7th. Gingham, incidentally, sitting 11th. So we're doing all right. In the last couple of games, we've really started to really be a bit more tight at the back and sorting them problems out.
Do you think, though, that the formation changes are having an effect on us not picking up 3 points there? I know we're doing well in the form guide, we said that. but it's 2 points from a possible 6. Shows we should definitely have won that game. Lots and lots of changes. Commentary, I think Don Polion was dropped to the bench, having started on Saturday. Perhaps didn't have his best game. We've tried Lyle Taylor up front on his own, Tyrone Barnett up front on his own, Barcham on the wing, Parrott in the team and Parrott out the team. Are we lacking a bit of consistency? Lukey, what do you think? Is that a fair comment to make? Or do you think our players are more tactically sort of flexible that it shouldn't be an issue?
Yeah, actually, it's very much an Ardley thing, isn't it? He does like sort of chopping and changing. He's already talked about there being quite a few games in a few weeks with midweeks as well. And I genuinely think at the moment he doesn't know his best team.
Yeah.
I think he wanted to play Parrott at all costs because I think he's been one of the sort of standout performers this season, certainly amongst the new guys. But I also sense that he doesn't really want to drop Bully and Reeves as well. So I think that's sort of made the 3. And yeah, he's still rotating and trying to find the best strikers, isn't he, and how they work together.
Ask you both. I'll start with you, Lukey. You've mentioned there he doesn't seem to want to drop Danny Bullman, but is Danny Bullman being as effective as he can be at current time?
I think if you look at the comments that Ardley made after the Sheffield United game, Bullman wasn't playing, and I think Ardley was very critical about how they sort of sliced us open through the middle, and I suspect Bullman's definitely one of those players, isn't he, that he does work off the ball that people possibly don't see.
Stu, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. Think of Bully sometimes. You don't really think sometimes having a spectacular game because you look at the midfield pair. You look at the midfield 3 we play, definitely against Scunthorpe, we play Parrott, Reeves and Bullman. And if you look at the 3 of them, the 2 people that are going to stand out is Reevesy and Parrott because when they get the ball, they want to run. But they don't always anticipate what's in behind them. And if you look at Danny Bullman, because of he's what was he, about 58, isn't he? He anticipates.
Yeah, he's a year older than you.
Yeah, he anticipates the danger. He knows he's looking behind him. His experience tells him that where to be. So he doesn't have to run miles because actually his experience puts him in positions where he sniffs out danger. And actually, problem. I don't know if we actually don't know our best team. I sense at the moment that we've gone away from the 4-4-2 because it just doesn't provide us with enough protection. And our wingers, we don't really play well with the wingers. I find them a waste, if I'm being true. I know Barch has come in a few goals, but I think we play better with more of a central sort of 3 in the midfield, 3 up front, and you then tend to find Lyle or whoever's the wide of the 3 work and chasing behind. So I think we've gone away from wingers, which is interesting when you think about Whelpdale's been on the bench for a little while. And Bartram's still in, one of our top goal scorers, isn't it, at the moment? So we need to find places for them, but I don't think we're going to play 4-4-2 much.
Opinions on players do tend to vary quite a lot. As I mentioned there, Danny Bullman, because he's coming for a little bit of, I wouldn't say criticism, but people have been asking the question about perhaps not performing to the level he was last year. And as you guys have said, perhaps they're being a little bit harsh. We're not noticing the work he does. Opinion was very much divided on Saturday in terms of our Man of the Match poll on Twitter. Now, we gave, as we always do this season, well, with one exception, we give 3 options. And this week we chose Dean Parrott, James Shea and Lyle Taylor. But none of our fans, and indeed the matchday sponsors, picked Jake Reeves, who wasn't included, and also mentioned Tom Elliott. Now, if I can address this first and then get your guys' opinion on it. On Saturday, for the Shrewsbury game, Jake Reeves, I think, had a very, very good last 20 minutes or so when he began to get on the ball and make things happen and become the man that everything seems to be going through. But before that point, I felt it was a little bit off the pace. Does attempt sometimes to try the harder pass when he doesn't need to, which can cost us possession. And we weren't really dominating that midfield area. Luca, do you think that's do you think that's fair of me? Or
he definitely likes a glory ball, doesn't he? And when it comes off, it looks fantastic. I think my personal take is that you want players to do that. You actually want players to sort of push forward and attack. Yes, he looked better when there's more space available. Certainly when he went down to 10 men, that obviously made a big difference. And I think that's when he came into his own. But I think for everybody, it's a step up, isn't it? And I think the quality's there. You get punished a lot more if you give the ball away. So I think we need to work a bit on that.
Stu?
Yeah, I agree again, Luke. We're doing well here, mate. We're agreeing quite a lot. Yeah, to be fair, I want Reeves to take the game by the scruff of the neck, as they say, and try and make those passes. And yeah, people do moan, and you hear the groans. But then equally, when he does a great pass, if you look at the ball he played into Polion for the goal earlier this month when we beat Chesterfield, he plays a ball that no one else has seen, and everyone's cheering it. So you've got to take it rough and smooth with Reezy. As for Tom Elliott, yeah, I was surprised at that. To be fair, I didn't think Tom had one of his best games, but then, to be fair to Tom Elliott, sometimes his standard, you judge him on the standard he does, and I didn't think a lot of balls stuck with him, which he does. He wins a lot in the air. I didn't think he did much of that on Saturday, so that's why I didn't really want to put him in our top three, because I just think the standards he set, he didn't reach them on Saturday.
That's pretty much my thinking behind it as well. A lot was aimed towards him, but he didn't really link it in as well as he can do, and as we have seen him do quite a lot this season. But in terms of that man of the match poll then, James Shea did take away the honours, 57%, Dean Parrott 18% and Lyle Taylor 25%. Lyle Taylor, who seems to play every position on the pitch at some point for various reasons on Saturday. Interesting though, we've talked about dropping points and yet our goalkeeper has won that man of the match poll. Was that maybe for a spell of about 15 minutes after half-time where Shrewsbury really came at us, do you think?
Do you know what? I think, obviously, the goalkeeping thing, we went, as typically as it happens, we recorded early last week, and we missed the news on a Wednesday. So this is probably the first chance we actually had a chance to discuss the Ryan Clark situation. But I think James Shea, the two games he's played, obviously I wasn't there on Wednesday night, but I was definitely there Saturday. It's been a massive difference having James Shea in, and it's not because he's shot stopping, because most keepers should be able to do that in League One level, arguably. But he's on Saturday, his starting position and his anticipation was excellent. There was a lot of times in the first half where he was literally on the edge of his area, picking up balls and sweeping up. And it's one of the criticisms we had of Ryan Clark, that he stayed in his line too much. And I think that's different. We've looked better. We've looked better and more comfortable on Saturday. We looked a bit more compact, where we didn't have defenders moaning and stuff like that. So I think the reason James Shea got it is just generally because of his commanding presence that we haven't had, arguably, for the previous 8 games before that.
And I thought as well, looking at, obviously you mentioned Lyle Taylor there, I think he looked a man reborn again. And he looked like he did that sort of times last season. He was everywhere. He was just running around. He obviously scored the early goal. Whether that made a difference to his confidence, I don't know. But he really seemed to enjoy playing, certainly in the first half anyway.
Yeah, and he's also, he's got his 4th goal on Wednesday night. So for people saying that he's not a League One striker, Lyle's starting to get the goals in now, isn't he? So, and of course he got the goal from a mishit corner, as everyone thought it was from Dean Parrott, wasn't it, on Saturday?
Yeah, the mishit corner routine that we've done purposefully about half a dozen times this season, but never mind. It came off and worked very well. Do you remember? I remember us doing that a few years ago in the Johnson Smith Trophy. Maybe we should come back to that later, actually. But do you remember doing that against, was it Southend or someone? Kevin St. Luce? So yeah. It's been on Neil Ardley's rate, in his playbook, should we say, for quite a while.
I wanted to try and do back. You remember the old Ryman days? And obviously we're going to go back and talk about the old days with Lukey soon. But do you remember the old corner we took where we went and put the corner in, just slightly touched it?
Yeah.
And then dribbled it in. I don't want to just don't try that again. Surely that'll work at this level. Yeah,
no one would expect that. It's like Spanish Inquisition. Don's 3-word reports then for Stevenage, Shrewsbury. Very difficult to get all these team names. They all sound the same after a while. Start with the same letters. Not the Shrewsbury. You see, I've done it again. Not the Stevenage, you're in the same division. Having a shocker so far today on the podcast. Some great ones this week. Again, thank you very much to everyone that entered their 3-word reports. We had lots and lots and lots again. Thank you very much for the hashtag as well, making it a lot easier for us to find you all. Let's go for Jim Hampshire at Jim Hampshire. Summed up many people's feelings with 2 points dropped. Simple, but to the point. We have to mention M. Sturgeyboy at Dummy Out the Pram, because on Twitter he's been saying we need to mention him and make sure we mention him. So let's just clear this one up. He went for Shrews, Tame, Dons. Now, my brother Chris, member of the podcast team, did say something similar. He prepped us, didn't he, in advance of the week, saying clearly the 3-word report will be along these lines, depending on which way the result goes. But on Twitter, M. Sturgeyboy was the first one in there, so we'll give him the credit for that one. Plus, no one wants to give any credit to my brother. And my favourite this week was, I really enjoyed this one, from Ian Harrison at Ari Harrison, A Missed Opportunity.
Oh, I like it.
Has to be the winner, doesn't it?
And it was that Ian Harrison?
It was.
Who we know. Who's married to Vicky Saxby.
Who is now Vicky Harrison.
Oh, yeah, of course. Oh, dear, you could tell I've been up all day playing FIFA, can't you? My brain's frazzled.
I can't tell any difference from any other weeks, do you?
Of course.
Is there a Lone Watch feature this week from you yourself?
Yeah, there is. So, Lone Watch. It's interesting. I think he's probably due back soon, Danny Gallagher, I think, because I think he's probably come up to next month. And it's probably worth it because at the moment Kingstonians are not playing him, which is a shame. But I don't think he's had the best loan spell there from what you sort of read in between the lines of Kingstonian fans, although Kingstonian fans do have a history of moaning at anything. But anyway, they've not been too happy with him, and he didn't play. I'm just trying to drastically find my notes. See, I found them. So let's have a look. They they won away at Canby Island over in Essex on Saturday, and then lost away again at Wingate and Finchley 2-1. So they are currently sitting in 17th place at the moment. And really for the first game, which was against Canby Island, Danny Gallagher got no time at all. And then he got no time at all in the other games. He's not played. He's been on the bench. He's sat there and, yeah, there's no point in being there sitting on the fence. He might as well on the bench. He might as well be getting game time with us. And bearing in mind that the under-23 Premier Cup starts for us on Monday, it might be worth him coming back and playing games because there's no point in sitting there at Kingstonians not playing anything. So, yeah, not the greatest of times there for Danny at the moment.
Stu, if we edit this will work perfectly, okay? Can you just ask me if I see any point in sitting on the fence?
So, Nick, do you see any point of sitting on the fence?
I'm not sure. See what I did there?
Okay.
Ladies watch.
Yep, always watching ladies. Oh, sorry, you mean the Wimbledon ladies.
Very good. I set them up, you knock them down.
I do try. The ladies are in excellent form. And I do feel it's because we paid them a visit early on in the season and gave them that little bit of confidence. I want to take some credit
for their good run.
And they don't, I mean in jest. But to be fair to them, they've done really well. They've won 5 straight games. They had a bit of a closer game away at Lowestoft Town on Sunday, coming out 4-3 winners. But yeah, 5 wins from 5. At the moment, really doing well. They already have a 3-point gap over Cambridge United, who sit in second. Not looking too bad. You'll be pleased to know that Luton Town ladies sit in 3rd place, Nick. So the ladies are probably better than their first team. The men's first team. But we play.
Just ignoring you.
I know. I will try. But no, we've got some interesting games coming up. So home to Stevenage ladies. We are playing Stevenage, Nick. So we're at home on Sunday.
Who's that? Shrewsbury, sorry.
No, Stevenage.
Oh, right.
So Stevenage sit bottom. So top versus bottom. What more could go wrong in that game? But yeah, then we go away to.
What's gone wrong in the first place?
Well, what could go wrong? Well, what could go wrong? Sorry, in terms of top versus bottom, it's a nailed on 3 points for the ladies, surely. But yeah, they've got some good games. Like I say, home. If we say this all the time, but get along to Sutton United's ground. It's free of charge. You can just walk in, watch some football, and the ladies are playing really, really well now. And get along to see them. I'm going to try and get along. They've got Cambridge United at the end of October on Sunday the 30th, which is hopefully going to be first versus second. I'm going to be a glory hunter and go and watch them play against the second place team. But they're doing well.
Cool. And anything else you want to bring us from around the club this week?
No, 21, like I say, the under-21s are in action on Monday. It's the under-23 Premier Cup. They are away to Charlton. We're in a group stage now. We have Charlton and Middlesbrough and Fulham in our group. The games are scheduled. I don't think they should be going on the official site very soon. They are all going to be at the Cherry Rose Record Stadium, so we should all be able to get a chance to go down and see them. And finally, I did get along to the under-18s on Saturday, and unfortunately you had a 2-0 loss against Luton Town, Nick. Who always have a good academy, and interesting game. We brought Paul Cannon-Bay back for that game in setting with Toby Sibic as centre halves, but the Luton pairing up front were very good. And at the moment, Luton sits second, and we surprisingly, for our under-18, sit rock bottom at the moment. So a bit of work to do for Mark Robinson and the guys there.
So this week we've been joined by Luke Mackenzie. Now, Luke, you've been volunteering at the club since day one, since the reformation in 2002. Very interested to hear what first got you involved back in, I'm guessing, at the very end of May of that year, and what were your sort of first responsibilities? What sort of things were you getting done at that time?
Oh, good question. So I was on the WISA committee during the time of the protests, so I've kind of been roped into that, as you do, going along to a few meetings and then you get volunteered to do stuff. So I was doing a lot of the, I saw a picture the other day on Facebook of the yellow T-shirt day, and it was part of that team that sold a lot of T-shirts then, and actually fantastic day that was. As it went along, obviously we'd kind of heard, I think there was rumours the night before that the decision hadn't gone our way. So I remember that morning going up to the FA, standing outside and going in. And then I think it was a couple of days later, I got a call from Ivor. Still remember where I was walking along New Malden High Street. Got a call from Ivor who said, we're starting a new team. We've got to put somebody down to do all the security. You're a big lump, so we're putting you in charge. and that was basically it.
See, I do remember at the time, in those early days, you were very much involved with the stewarding and doing a lot of great work with the stewards there, who were all volunteers to begin with, weren't they? Yeah,
so we started off, I sort of took over the role of chief steward, went into it a bit blind, if I'm honest, but I think naivety is sometimes good and sees you through. And we had pretty much all volunteers. We supplemented with some of the K's guys who had been obviously working and were used to the stadium and how it worked. And we've still got a couple of them work for us now. Phil Clark, who's still our safety officer, was safety officer at the time as well. Mm-hmm. So it was great help.
So how did you find that first season? So if I remember properly, our first home game was against Chipstead.
Yeah.
And was
night? Yeah,
and was sold out. Well and truly, to be fair, there's so many in. Was that because obviously we had the pre-season games, which we stewarded our own pre-season games. I remember properly, didn't we? Is that right? When we done that,
we did. So obviously, certainly somewhere I can't remember exactly, but Sutton obviously provided some of their own. But I remember when we went to Town and stuff, we pretty much did it. We had a good couple of years of taking our own stewards to away games as well, and that was kind of part of the deal. Certainly with clubs like Sandhurst Town, who were fantastic. Pre-season, yes, we did it. Obviously, that kind of took us to Coney Hall, which I think was probably the last time we ever did that.
Who can forget Coney Hall?
Yeah, what went wrong at Coney Hall? I can't remember. That passed over that incident, didn't it?
Yes, it went swimmingly. What went wrong? Too much alcohol on the terraces, possibly. They didn't shut the bars. They promised us they would shut the bars, and they didn't. And that's obviously going to cause you a problem anyway.
Because I imagine a lot of the CCL teams, such as Santos, like you mentioned, were very, very welcoming and accommodating and great to work with. But there must have been some others that were a little bit more difficult. And I'm probably, without wishing to put words into your mouth, but were Bromley one of those?
Bromley, I think the trouble with Bromley, the stadium didn't help because it was pretty decaying, wasn't it? And certainly, I think the problem with the Coney Hall game was Bromley left it a bit to the Coney Hall left it a bit to us, we left it a bit to Bromley, and I think that caused the sort of big upshot. The one I always remember having a big problem at, and probably shouldn't say, but it was Farnham Town, of all places. Yeah. Which was just a difficult situation altogether.
Was that to do because they had like a public footpath down one end, or the strange end behind the goal with the raised? What was the?
That was the best away ground.
Yeah, do you remember you sort of stood on the hill behind the goal, didn't you?
I used to love that because I always want to try and push someone down it. Do you know what I mean? But it was a health and safety problem, wasn't it?
Yeah, pushing people down hills, Stu, would be considered a health and safety risk, yes.
But if we go back to them times, though, like Farnham Town, some of the grounds were just like, you go to grounds now and commentary, and you go to like the grounds are all look the same. Let's be fair, do you know what I mean? They've all got big stands and stuff. But the non-league days, I don't think you can forget. Like, I still remember Felton Town. Is it Felton Town? Yeah. When they said, I remember going and they said they've got a roof, and then we got there and they did have a roof. It just wasn't filled.
It looked like sort of some post-war era stadium, didn't it?
Yeah. I remember the days, because none of us, if you're being truthful, we'd all gone from Premiership, Championship grounds. We'd done that for so many years, and we all got a little bit used to that. And all of a sudden, we were thrown into the non-league, and I think at the time we were like, yeah, this is great. It was a really good journey to get along, but some of the grounds we went to were just culture shocks, to say the least, weren't they?
Yeah, Felton was the one, I think.
Any other grounds that you can remember that you just went there and thought, wow?
No, it's funny, isn't it? You for me, the sort of, I still have some standout grounds just for other reasons, and predominantly what happened on the pitch. So I always remember going down to Godalming, which was the sort of Simon Bassey game, wasn't it? And the referee.
Was that Mr. Fish?
It was.
Right, that's the one, yeah.
So I always remember that sticks out. What before we actually started, and sort of obviously we had the Ryman rejection, first of all, didn't we? I remember being up the pub for that one, when Ivor and Chris came back and said we hadn't got into the Rymans. And we went to the CCL, and then we got elected into the CCL. I went for a road trip with Trev, Vicky and Lou, who Trev and Vicky were sort of secretaries, and Lou obviously chair of the DT board at the time. And we had, I think it was on a Sunday, and we just went round and drove around these Surrey and Hampshire villages, looking at all the grounds, which was cracking fun and a real eye opener to what we were expecting, what we were going to face.
So in terms of, was there, obviously we did steward obviously a lot of games away from home. Now, from memory, the combined counties, majority of those voted us in. Well, actually, I don't think they had to vote too much for us to go into that league. But were all of them always accommodating? Were there any grounds that you found difficult to get any sort of communication with them?
No, they were all pretty much spot on, to be fair. I think they saw us for what we were, which was a team that probably wouldn't stay around at that level, maybe a season, maybe two if they were lucky. And actually, the majority of them went out their way to help us, which was cracking. And hence, it was easy for us to volunteer and help them out as well.
What was the situation with the Wallingford game? Were you involved in stewarding that one? Mm-hmm. Was that a big operation? Because there was a huge attendance for that game in particular, wasn't there? Did we take over 2,000 fans to see people that day? That was one where I'd actually attended. So the night before, they'd had a safety briefing. Okay.
And I'd been invited down, so we actually stayed in Wallingford, which is randomly where I met Gary Elkins' dad in a pub.
I've heard that Wallingford is considered the Venice of southern England.
Indeed, what a place.
Yeah.
So I stayed in a hotel the night before, had a safety briefing with them. We provided some stewards for them as well, and then obviously it went a little bit wrong.
Yeah, but I don't think anyone could have foreseen exactly what happened that day or prevented it, to be honest.
Yeah, and I mean there was certainly nothing from their point of view that sort of other teams would turn up and sort of start a bit of trouble. So
yeah.
So with the stewarding on that, at that level, did the police ever want to police any games, or were they ever involved in some games where they felt maybe because if we think about Wallingford game, I think that was probably because it wasn't Wallingford fans, because the average attendance would tell it's not them. But we were unfortunately going into areas where other fans knew that we were going to take in quite a lot of fans, and some of them would try and join in with that. Did the police ever get involved at all? Or were we just able to do it ourselves?
No, I think pretty quickly the local Kingston police got on board with us and actually worked really well with us. So, we ended up getting appointed not your brother, though, Nick. He probably wasn't there then, was he? That's why it was quite good.
Exactly, I was going to say, he would have come along and ruined it all, but never mind.
And we had a football liaison officer. They appreciated how different we were, going to places that sort of normally had 50, 100 people, and suddenly sort of 1,500 of us turning up, and actually the problems that may cause. There's another one, I remember going down to, where was it, where Matt Everard scored?
Herne Bay,
that was it. That could have got a bit naughty as well at points, but that was another cracking day out, wasn't it? You remember them for different reasons.
There was one game, I think, a bit further on down the line, a very, very famous game in the history of AFC Wimbledon, and possibly the most important game in AFC Wimbledon history, which was the Staines playoff final.
Yes.
If I remember correctly, you were involved again in stewarding arrangements that day?
Yeah, no, we helped out. We had a really decent relationship with the safety officer at Staines, and he'd often come and see us, and we spent a lot of time together. So we were happy to help them. They're just a nice club from that point of view. Although the big problem obviously was behind the goal where we scored. The Boller scored. I think there was nobody behind that end, if I remember rightly, just because they were too worried about how narrow it was. And there were no sort of secure barriers or anything. So I think I was actually the only person behind the free kick when it went in, which was good fun. Celebrated on my own.
Did you celebrate on you?
There's occasions when you can't keep your professionalism, that's for sure.
I'll have to watch that back just so I can see you celebrating now.
I think I've just off shot on the left of camera. Still my favourite celebration ever was the very first game, in the CCL, and we scored at home. And I just remember Tudor as a steward ran pretty much the length of what is now the John Green stand. High-fiving everybody along the touchline whilst resplendent in his fluorescent jacket. And at that point I was like, oh, this could be fun.
So talking about in terms of, obviously we have a lot of volunteer base now. If you look at the volunteers we have loads match day on the home games. Was it the same going back then? Did you very much get a lot of people going, I want to volunteer, what can I do?
Yeah, I suppose so. I think you have some that have sort of stayed the distance. You've had some that have ducked in for a few, certainly the match day ones. I mean, there's some guys that, bless them, I'm not sure they've actually ever seen a home game for the full 90 minutes because they're working in the cash office and stuff like that. And I just think that's an incredible sacrifice that they've made for this football club.
Well, that's something you mentioned earlier, actually, about not being able to see perhaps all of a recent game because you were busy doing other jobs around the stadium. So we take our hats off to all of you guys, like you've said there, because, as I've said many times, I'm quite happy to turn up on a Saturday afternoon and have my football all on a Saturday and go home. But the work you and many, many of the other volunteers do on a match day is, well, I'm in awe of it, to be honest.
Yeah, and I hope it's something we can continue going forwards and at Plough Lane. Really have that ethos and that culture. Still, that would be something to look forward to.
Now, with your stewarding work, you transitioned, I believe, to the Don's Trust board. Probably involved in possibly the first round of elections onto the Don's Trust board. Yeah,
it kind of becomes a bit vague. We certainly had a steering group, and I was on that. And I was certainly on the Don's Trust board at the time of the Terry Eames incident, shall we say.
What was the Terry Eames incident, Lee?
Yeah. When you join the board, you sign a confidentiality agreement, and I think that's still got about 25 years to run, so you can ask me in a few years' time.
We'll book a podcast in for then.
Episode 1087.
Now, Lukey, do you remember this time back in 2016? Was it, obviously, I know Nick's trying to get some information out of you craftily. Was that, I suppose that's not what you signed. Craftily.
Well, I'm not really sure it was particularly crafty. It failed.
I suppose that's obviously something you don't expect to have to deal with. So was that maybe the more difficult side to deal with on that sort of occasion?
Yeah, definitely. it wasn't a nice situation, and I got off quite lightly. I think there were some people that sort of got all barrels directed at them, which wasn't very nice, and probably the first time it had become a bit toxic around the club for a few weeks around that time. So that wasn't great, but again, it's one of those things you've got to do, and I think if you're there, you've got to be in that position to make a decision if you need to. And history tells us it was probably the right decision. And we've progressed onwards and upwards.
So it's quite new in them. And, if you think about it, then that was obviously the first situation we had from that. Do you think that was, in a hindsight way, a good lesson, not to learn, but was there a lot of stuff learnt from that at that time and moving the Don's Trust board forward? Yeah,
definitely. In terms of, for an amateur setup, we were all playing at running a football club, weren't we? And I think it was the Ron Nodes thing of fans can't run a football club was very much running through our heads at the time. So actually, when it came to having to make the big decisions, when it came to actually having to do things in the right way and treat people the right way, I think we were very much correct and professional in what we did.
Yeah, I agree.
At that time, was it an incident like that? Was it a case of everyone involved putting their lives on hold to deal with it? Or was it something that you got to when you could?
No, it was something as extreme as that is pretty much you drop everything. I think we ended up meeting several nights in a row at the club and sort of convening then. It's not unheard of. I've certainly know other boards that, times I haven't been on the board where they've met on a Sunday afternoon, for example, if there's a major issue brewing. And I suspect there's a heck of a lot of work going on at the moment with regards to the stadium. So they're probably working all hours.
Again, it's one of those things where we say, of course, you're doing this for free, so you're taking a lot of time out of your lives to sort all this stuff out. What were your experiences away from that incident like on Don's Trust board? How many years were you on there for?
I went on and off, so I think I did 3 stints, so including the steering board. It was interesting because I was the youngest person on there. I think when we first started, I was probably 23, 24.
Luke, I'm not going to lie to you, at your age now, if you were to join the board again now, you'd probably still be the youngest member on there.
This is also true. And I think I'm hoping the sort of appointment of Mr. Spriegel will do wonders on that front and actually try and encourage some younger people to join, because I think there's enough there to get your teeth into. I think they need the energy of youth and the sort of fearlessness possibly of some of the youth that we have around the club to sort of freshen up the board and liven it up a bit. I don't think you can go wrong with that. I think we're not very diverse, and I think it's something we've never got properly right. We don't have many women on there. We certainly don't have anybody sort of in a wheelchair or disabled. We don't represent minorities at all well on the board, and I think that's something we should strive for.
So you agree, and me and Nick have spoke about that, personally, that we do. We've also got Jane on there at the moment, who is obviously female. Of course she is. Didn't know I was leading with that question.
That's for the clip show at the Christmas special, isn't it? There's Jane, who's a female.
That was trying to think and talk at the same time. But yeah, I think you're right. We're not very diverse in that. Would you say now, from speaking to people who are younger and maybe want to get involved, do you think being young and not having any experience probably in business would hold you back? Is there still enough for a youngster to do, 20s, 25s?
Yeah, definitely. I think, my experience, and I'm sure it's changed sort of vastly since I did it, but you turn up to a board meeting and potentially the younger ones don't speak as much and they're a bit quieter and a bit shyer, but actually when it comes to doing and getting things done, that's where the younger ones can really take ownership and take control. So I think there's enough. I don't think you necessarily have to have a business brain. There are people at the club that do the accounts and they present them to you and you look through and go, that looks all right. I think if you're got a bit of savvy about you, you kind of understand the sort of structure of the football club. And I think that's actually not as easy as it should be. If you understand how things work, then you'll do fine on the board.
That's something that you definitely have an understanding of, because you've done many other roles, haven't you, in your time at AFC Wimbledon? What other things have you got involved in?
So I actually volunteered for pretty much a year, which ended up costing my dad a lot of money because he had to bail me out of debt. But I ended up working in the office. So we had an office, obviously Ivor's sort of workhouse was the first one. Workhouse, that sounds a bit Victorian, doesn't it? Ivor's printing place. And then we moved and we had an office in Wimbledon. So we had a couple of full-time staff there. And I used to volunteer and chip in and help out when I could. And then obviously it was all changed when we got Kings Meadow. And I volunteered for the first or second year probably, at Kings Meadow, just in the office. So it was answering phones, sweeping up the terraces, doing whatever we needed to do.
And what's your current voluntary role?
I do. So for about the last 5 years, I started getting busier at work. So I couldn't commit to doing as much stewarding, so I now stand on the middle turnstiles and just collect tickets, which is always quite nice. Solving your problems, if somebody's got a duplicate seat ticket or stuff like that. So it's a nice, gentle role for me. I kind of look at it as my retirement now. And also it means you don't have to argue with, police or the FA who come along and say you can't serve drinks without bottle or with bottle tops on and stuff like that. Which used to frustrate me.
Because it is good, actually, because you have got a cosy little number now, which I think is properly well deserved. And you're in the warm now, which was always good. You always seem happy. It's quite good now, because me and Nick now are trying to sit down more often, so we now sort of bump into you a lot more often with that. But is that now what you want to? Is that now what you really want to do now? Sort of, you've done your time. If you're being truthful, is it now that's just your time to enjoy match days now a bit more?
Yeah, I think so. I definitely get to watch a bit more of the game now than I ever used to, which is nice. And I'm not getting to as many away games as I used to. I think, family life takes over as well, doesn't it? So you kind of, it's just, it's a nice, relaxing gig. Do you know what? Who knows what the new stadium will bring and what challenges and what opportunities, because I think that's something we can all look forward to. And actually, would I like to be a lot more involved? Probably. Because I do enjoy it and I do miss almost not being right at the heart of it.
It's a good way to sort of like get to the end of our interview, really. But would you have imagined when you were going around the combined counties sourcing out where Farnham Town was and stuff like that potentially you could be 2 years away from returning back to Valone?
Yeah, it's just insane, isn't it? I'm 40 in a few months' time, and I said, I remember when we started, I said, look, if we get back to the league at the time I'm 40, I'll be delighted. And if we got a new stadium in Wimbledon by the time I'm 50, then I think we'd be doing very, very well. And, it's looking like we're going to be a good sort of 7 or 8 years ahead of that.
Lukey, before we finish up this section of the show, you are a guest on our show, so you know what that means, don't you?
Fire away.
5 either-or questions. First answer that comes into your head, please.
Ready.
If you could have a lightsaber or have the ability to read minds, what would you choose?
Read minds.
If you were stranded on a desert island with a mermaid, would you rather they had their top half as a fish or their bottom half as a fish?
Bottom half.
Would you?
God.
Don't blame the question.
It gets more random each week, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think I'm going to guess your answer for the next one already, considering what you said earlier. But would you rather have chocolate finger toes or sausage fingers?
Oh, it's all about the sausage fingers.
I love a sausage finger. Would you rather own a deer-sized parrot or a parrot-sized deer?
A parrot-sized deer.
And finally, would you rather have dinner with Lindsay Dawn Mackenzie or Kelvin Mackenzie?
Oh, that's a horrible choice. Lindsay Dawn Mackenzie.
Again, stupid Kelvin Mackenzie.
I wouldn't talk about Dean Holdsworth.
Legal reasons we cannot do that.
She knows him quite well.
So I understand. Polion Go as well, Luke. You might be able to help Stu out. In fact, Stu said to me prior to recording that he would very much appreciate your help because, in his own words, he sucks at this game.
It's just your clues are no good, Nick. I just think they're just very random.
It's the second time I've had to say this on the show, but don't blame the questions.
I've loaded up Google, so I've got Google.
That's cheating. That. But anyway, right. So Don Polion, fresh from being benched against Coventry. Yeah, whatever. He's travelled from Scunthorpe, hasn't he, Stu? Scunthorpe. Do you know that, Stu?
Yeah, I know where it is now.
Stadium built in 1988 near Grimsby, that you went to quite recently. But anyway, he's now travelled quite a long distance, and he has ended up at a ground which he considers fairly holy. Ooh. In the Catholic sense.
I don't know. Catholic in the... I'm no good at religion.
Shall I move on?
Yeah, Luke, any ideas?
No, I'm with you, Stu. It's the questions.
Number 2.
Okay, number 2 then. He's enjoying the football from the away end, which was built as a temporary structure in 2003, and it remains a temporary structure to this day.
I think I have a guess.
I think you're going to get this. I'm very confident, especially when you hear the last clue. But do you want to see? Do you need the third clue?
I have a guess now. I'm going to go. Can I guess?
Yeah.
I'm going to go for Gillingham.
Yay! Stu.
You gave me a clue for once. It was decent.
What, the Holy Ground one?
No, that was rubbish. I didn't understand that at all.
It's Priestfield.
There we go. Priestfield, indeed.
If you said they sell lavender, then I probably would have got it.
Wow, we'll just leave that one there, shall we? Let's just park that caravan there and move away very quickly. Finally, Stu, the one that I thought you would get was because after the game, Dom decided to just drive back, but he stopped at the nearest service station, which was Medway Services. I thought you might get it from that one, but you beat me to it. So.
Yeah, that was an easy one. To be fair, Nicky Davis was really good. Well, the first one wasn't good, but the second one was decent.
Very kind of you to say. This week, then, we have... Who do we have? Oh, look! Gillingham. Do you know what? That wasn't even planned. It was just the first... I just literally stuck a pin into Rothman. That's not literally what I did, but, you know. And I thought, oh, yeah, we'll go for Gillingham this week. But we are actually playing Gillingham this week. And our record against them in recent times isn't that bad. We lost at Kings Meadow last time we played them, I think. But the season before that, we beat them 3-1. And we have not lost at Priestfield either. And even going back a little bit, at the turn of the century, we had a couple of 0-0 draws with them and a decent record, a 4-4 draw, I think I remember, at Selhurst Park, bizarrely.
Yeah, we did, yeah.
You were saying earlier Gillingham below us in the form table at the moment, and they had a 3-3 draw, I believe, at Chesterfield the other day. Yeah,
and I think they were 3-1 down, I think, if I remember, or 3-2 down and come back late. Yeah, do you know what, Gillingham rumoured to have spent quite a bit of money in the summer. And probably by the signings they made, you probably would say that as well. They obviously got a hold of Billy Knott, got a hold of Lee Martin, also got J. Emmanuel Thomas on loan from QPR. So he's an absolute beast of a man, and I think too good for this level. But they've got a decent team, got a few ex-Wimbledon players as well, in the shape of Deji Ojalaja. Who can forget Deji? Aaron Morris, obviously Billy Knott. So yeah, there's a few old faces in there, and it should be a decent game. They're not performing as they were. They've also had goalkeeper issues as well, very similar to us, of not knowing their number one, or number one not being held down their place. And they had a lone goalkeeper come in who got injured, and they've gone back to Stuart Nelson, who, when I was reading on their forums, they weren't loving at all. So hopefully we can have a keeper at the other end, giving us a bit of a chance.
Prediction for it?
I'm going to go for I think we're going to really sort of turn the corner. I'm going for a 2-1 win.
Lukey, what do you reckon?
That's all.
Either of you going to the Plymouth Checkatrade Trophy game?
I will be, because I want to see us get through. Went to the first game, so I'm looking forward to welcoming back Plymouth, and after our last time we played them in front of 60,000. We'd be lucky to get 600 probably for this game. But yeah, it'd be nice to see them, and they're doing really well. They're romping away in the in League Two, so it'd be good to see how they are.
Eric Samuelson has said use his program notes to suggest that our fans do attend this game, and sort of send a message that we might not be interested in the under-23s in this competition, but when it comes to the traditional Football League trophy, we want to show our support for that. So it's going to be very interesting to judge the attendance. I'm sure it will be a 4-figure attendance this time.
Yeah, it depends what Plymouth are doing well, aren't they? So you sort of think their fans will probably turn up in some numbers. They also have a lot of more London-based fans as well, so they're always well represented. And yeah, I think it will be 4 figures, and I'm looking forward to it. To be fair, and like I say, they got a few ex-players as well in terms of Cardi Osborne's there, and also Connor Smith's there. So we've got a chance to see, and obviously Connor Smith is a great player, isn't he? Obviously playing for Watford previously, so it'd be nice to see how he gets on.
Forgot to ask you that question, Lukey. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you hate Watford? 10? Wow. See?
Do you know what? I look back through some of the past AFC Wimbledon players, and there's a few of the guys that support Watford. They're sort of top guys, so yeah, I quite like them. Sorry, Nick.
Well said. Well said.
It's gone quiet, hasn't it?
No, that was the sound of me storming out. I'll calm down. I'm all right. I'll survive. I'll carry on. We'll be all right, Lukey. We'll get through this little.
And do you know what? If you want to ever have a good read, search up Ardley and Cox on Blind, Stupid and Desperate. There's quite a good read about Neil Cox.
That's going to be a fun interview when we finally interview Neil Ardley and Neil Cox of that Watford question. I can't wait for that.
Unfortunately, I've been banned for searching the terms Neil and Cox, but maybe it might be the spelling. Updates from both games then will be provided on our social media at 9YRS Podcast, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook as well, so keep an eye out for those. I think that brings us to the end of the show this week, Stu. We would like to mention that our Goal of the Month video should be up within the coming days, so keep an eye out for that. You can judge our Goal of the Month for September. Otherwise, I hope you've enjoyed this week's show. Lukey, thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, and obviously just the final thing being that the Dons Trust Board elections open at the weekend, so go and get your nominations in, people.
And we will, of course, be speaking more about that over the coming weeks. So, again, keep your eyes peeled to our social media for all the updates regarding the Dons Trust Board elections. Thank you very much, Stu.
Thank you very much, Nick. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for everyone for listening to this week's show. And please, please, please do join us next week when we will be joined by Sam Allardyce. He's going to be giving us some tips on how to get past our third-party ownership problem with Stu, because I'm trying to sell him to a different podcast. But apparently Woodford Town own his registration. I'm sure Sam will be able to figure it out for us. We'll see you then.